You don't even want to know how many times I've heard the words "don't do it" before pulling a trigger on the Glock 44. If you would have read those exact same words from a movie script, you probably would have thought a murder was about to happen. Those were my inner demons speaking to me about why it might be a better idea to just pass up on spending $350 on a gun that might go down as the biggest bust in Glock history. Or at least that's what's been surfacing on the web. There, I said it. Since nobody has the cojones big enough to say it, I'll say it. But I really should feel ashamed of myself for going this far, acting as if I've never spent the same amount of money on dumber crap. I mean, this is an investment. A Pink Harry Styles vinyl, on the other hand, might be pushing it. To rewind a couple months back, in late January, Glock dropped their first rimfire 22 long rifle pistol in the Glock 44. At the time I was a mix of emotions because, well, it's a Glock, chambered in 22. But then I started doing research and the thing is literally built like a Glock 19, except it's a 22. The first thing that came to mind was the scene in Men in Black where Will Smith opens up the dead guy in the autopsy room and a little alien guy was inside controlling him the whole time. In a mysterious way, it's kind of what's happening right now, except the 22 has its own body to do whatever it pleases. Now there's a couple things you can take from this, the obvious being that when you break down a Glock 44, you won't find a little alien guy manipulating the controls. On the other hand, manipulating the Glock 44 with the Glock 19's physical features, I think I might have just found my new Ken doll to play dress up with. Along with the external compatibilities, the G44's unique hybrid polymer steel slide is not your typical boring slide you normally see on other Glock models. Reason for this is that in order for the 22 long rifle cartridge to properly cycle, the slide needs to be light enough for it to be able to do so. It also makes the overall weight of the Glock 44 extremely light. Even loaded with the full 10-round magazine, you might want to recheck every time you pick up the 44 because trust me when I say I caught myself lacking a couple times. I know, trigger discipline. But after shooting a 9mm cartridge for about 11 years, adjustments tend to become habits, and reducing the weight drastically from shooting a 150 grain projectile to a 40 grain projectile could be the determining factor that now you find yourself at Lowe's trying to patch up your bedroom wall, all because you thought you had dummy rounds in a chamber instead of a loaded gun. I realized that there were a lot more polymer parts on a pistol than just a slide, which can become a reliability issue going forward. My mixed emotions came back after I found out that the recoil guide rod is also made out of polymer. Not sure how I feel about this since it's an important part of the cycling process. Speaking of recoil, shooting a Glock 44 is like shooting a toy gun. There isn't any. The only recoil you'll get is your reaction from finally realizing that you'll need some training because after missing 10 consecutive shots on steel targets at 8 yards, let's just say life can get pretty depressing afterwards. I'm kidding, but not really because the Glock 44 makes the perfect training tool to go out and reset after a rough start at the range. Going back to the basics after bad range sessions can make the muscle memory sharp, but it can also make you look like Ray Allen from 10 yards. That's if you're not running subpar ammo. Which brings me to one of the Glock 44's biggest turnoffs. Word around town is that the Glock 44 can be a little bougie when it comes to ammo preference. I most definitely experienced this firsthand, but this also answers my question about reliability issues going forward. I've noticed a pattern when running Remington's high velocity 36 grain hollow points. With this stuff in the magazine, the G44 ran like a 2002 Daewoo with all of its check lights on. There were too many inconsistencies to determine the actual problem. However, the Aguila Super Extra 40 grain was the better round of the two with zero malfunctions. This might raise a red flag for those of you who might want to make this your everyday carry. Word of advice, get to know the Glock 44. Run it with several types of ammo, and then run it some more. The only other downfall, which I would consider to be in the picky category, is that there isn't a slide cut option. It would be interesting to see how Glock moves forward with this since most of the slide is polymer. After shooting about 700 rounds through the pipe, I've come to the conclusion that 1. I've probably just shot the cost of a pack of Big League chewing bubblegum since the 22 long rifle is like -10 cents a round, and 2. The Glock 44 is nothing more than a wiffle ball in the MLB training camps. It can prepare you for the cringy tactical pew-pew competitions, but I doubt it'll ever see the professional lights. But I'd be lying to you if I said that you would never see this as a part of my everyday carry rotation on IG. I mean, shot placement is key, right? All in all, I'm pretty optimistic about the Glock 44's future even though I felt like we just made up after a 10-year rocky relationship. Besides, I've also heard that this thing sounds really nice with the suppressor on it, and guess who just put an order for a threaded barrel? I'll most definitely keep you guys posted with some updates and maybe even do a part 2. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. If you like what you saw and would like to watch more content like this in the future, click the subscribe button. To get instant updates, click the bell notification icon as well, and I'll see you guys in the next video.